That brand new passport comes with terms and conditions nobody read aloud at the ceremony. 11 of them written into law, and each activates on its own schedule, whether you know about it or not. One expires if you never use it, and a bill from another can reach your family decades after you renounce. Watch through to number 1, because that rule can revoke the document itself. Every rule on this list comes from public law and court rulings, the kind of detail IMI tracks daily as the industry's newspaper of reference. Members of our private community, IMI Sovereigns, hear about these obligations before the headlines hit our website or anything else gets reported. We ranked all 11 fine print details from the mildest surprise to the one that reaches the deepest into your life. Number 11, a new legal name. Passports render names in Latin script under a shared international standard, and the issuing government decides how a name written in Arabic, Chinese, or Cyrillic gets translated. And that spelling becomes your name of record, even when it clashes with every other document you own. Mismatches across bank accounts, property titles, and inheritance papers produce blocked transactions and long, unnerving conversations at borders. And naming laws go further than spelling. Indonesian passports require at least 2 name elements, so people with a single name often duplicate it to obtain one. And United States immigration systems enter FNU, meaning first name unknown, when a given name is missing. Cosmetic stuff compared to what's ahead. Number 10. Descent claims expire. Citizenship by descent feels like a birthright that waits for you, but Italy proved otherwise. Under Law 74 of 2025, descendants preserved the old broad ancestry route only if they had filed an application, received an appointment notice, or brought a court claim by the night of March 27, 2025. Everyone else lost that route the same evening. Italy's Constitutional Court upheld the reform in 2026 and referred the remaining European law question to the EU's top court. Ireland ties transmission to timing as well. You become Irish only from the date your birth enters the Foreign Births Register, and a parent absent from the register when a child arrives passes nothing to that child. Registration takes around a year at the moment, so a late start can lock a child out permanently. Deadlines are one limit on bloodline claims. Here's another. Number 9. Bloodlines have a cutoff. Most people assume descent passes down forever, and nearly every country cuts it off somewhere. Italy now recognizes claims mainly through a parent or grandparent who possessed only Italian citizenship, or a qualifying parent who lived in Italy for 2 consecutive years before the applicant's birth. In Ireland, the claim reaches a grandparent and a great-grandparent only if your parent registered before you were born. Slovakia and Bulgaria extend to the 3rd generation through facilitated naturalization, and Slovakia dropped its residence condition for descendants of Czechoslovak citizens in July 2026. Canada went the other way, removing its first-generation limit in December 2025 under Bill C-3, though a Canadian parent must have spent 1,095 days in Canada for a child born abroad beyond the first generation to qualify. Where your line ends depends on the country and the year, so verify before you count on it. And assuming you do qualify somewhere, Number 8. Some countries demand your current passport. Austria naturalizes applicants only after they've taken every possible step to release their existing citizenship, unless it grants advance permission to retain it. India and Singapore refuse dual nationality outright, so their passports cost you whichever one you already have. Germany imposed the same condition until June 2024. Sequencing creates the danger here. Some frameworks require you to surrender a secure citizenship before the new grant becomes final, and a completed renunciation is nearly impossible to reverse if the approval falls through. Giving up a passport by choice is one thing. Number 7 covers countries that decide for you through an obligation for your kids. Number 7. A passport can draft your son. South Korea treats every male citizen as liable for military service, including dual nationals born and raised abroad. A male dual citizen must renounce Korean nationality by March 31st of the year he turns 18. After that date, renunciation generally waits until he completes service or secures an exemption, sometimes well into his 30s. One Washington-based immigration attorney estimates around 250,000 diaspora Koreans possess Korean nationality without knowing it. Greece, Turkey, and Israel can also reach dual nationals. Greece tightened its deferral rules in January 2026, so a Greek man now defers indefinitely only if he lived abroad across a legally defined window ending the year he turns 18. And he forfeits that status by spending more than 6 months in Greece in any calendar year. Anyone relying on the older test has until the end of 2028 to opt in. Before claiming a citizenship for a child, check the service rules and the age they begin. Number 6. It expires if you never use it. This is the one from the thumbnail. Denmark's Nationality Act strips citizenship from a Dane citizen born abroad automatically at age 22 if they've never lived in Denmark or spent time there in a way that shows a demonstrated connection, unless the loss would leave them stateless. Retention comes through living there for 3 consecutive months, spending a year in the country in total before 22, 7 years of residence elsewhere in the Nordics, or an application filed between the ages of 20 and 22. Miss that window and the citizenship dissolves. Canada once applied a similar retention rule to second-generation citizens. A group bill, C3, is now restoring, and South Korea's inherited citizenship expired at 22 before its rules tightened. Courts have accepted the principle underneath. A state may condition citizenship on a living connection to it. So, a dormant passport can vanish on a birthday, but number 5 removes even the birthday. Number 5. Your old citizenship can vanish the moment you get a new one. China's nationality law extinguishes Chinese nationality the moment a citizen settled abroad voluntarily acquires a foreign one. The loss requires no application and doesn't come with advance notice. Japan's Article 11 works identically, and its Supreme Court has upheld it. Austria strips citizenship from anyone taking a foreign nationality without first securing a retention permit, and Germany enforced a version of this until its June 2024 reform. Silence makes this rule dangerous. Enforcement can lag for years while you renew the old passport, yet the legal status died on naturalization day, a fact that surfaces when you request a renewal or try to pass the nationality to a child. Confirm how your home country treats a second passport before you apply for another. Number 4 reaches your heirs. Number 4. Death taxes follow the passport. The United States taxes the worldwide estate of its citizens wherever they die, with an exemption of $15 million per person for 2026 and a top rate of 40%. A non-citizen without U.S. domicile gets $60,000 of exemption on American-situated assets before graduated rates apply, so a Miami apartment or a U.S. brokerage account can leave heirs an enormous surprise. Connecting factors shift underneath people too. The United Kingdom replaced domicile with long-term residence in April 2026, putting your worldwide estate into UK inheritance tax once you've spent 10 of the previous 20 years as a UK resident, with a tail of 3 to 10 years of exposure after you leave. Even Switzerland tested the idea, though voters rejected a proposed 50% federal tax on estates above 50 million Swiss francs in November 2025. Leaving succession at the cantonal level. Heirs inherit the tax rules along with the assets, so map the exposure of every passport and residence in the family. Number 3. 2 passports tax you for life. The United States and Eritrea tie income tax to the citizenship itself. An American owes annual filings wherever on earth they live. Even someone who never lived in the country as an adult, and the Foreign Account Tax Compliance Act pushes foreign banks to report accounts belonging to US persons, which is how many accidental Americans first learn they owe anything at all. The model has tempted other governments. A French parliamentary committee adopted an amendment in late 2025, targeting wealthy nationals who move to low-tax countries. Deputies rejected it by a single vote, and France then adopted its 2026 budget without it. Advisors now watch that direction closely. A lifetime filing obligation is expensive to shed, which brings us to number 2. Leaving costs 40%. Renouncing US citizenship as a covered expatriate triggers tax on your worldwide unrealized gains, as though you had sold every asset the day before. You count as covered with a net worth of $2 million or more, an average annual net income tax above $211,000 over the prior 5 years, or a failure to certify 5 years of tax compliance. For 2026, the rules exclude the first $910,000 of gain and tax the rest. A second rule reaches further, though. Gifts and bequests a covered expatriate later makes to a U.S. citizen or resident face a 40% tax above a $19,000 annual exception payable by the American recipient, under regulations that took effect in January 2025, with the first return due in July 2027. A clean renunciation today can hand a U.S. grandchild a tax bill decades from now. Other countries price the door differently. Canada applies a departure tax that treats most property as sold at fair market value when your tax residence ends. And the Netherlands has captured unrealized gains on shareholdings of 5% or more since the 1990s through its protective exit assessment. Price the exit before you plan the entry. Numbers like these are why sovereign members use Ask the Experts, direct access to vetted tax and immigration advisors. Pinned comment for the link. Now, number 1 is what happens when someone else makes the choice for you. 1. It can be taken back. Purchased citizenship as a legal status, and governments can revoke legal statuses. On April 29, 2025, the Court of Justice of the European Union ruled in Commission versus Malta that Malta's investor citizenship program breached EU law, finding that a commercial transaction cannot produce union citizenship. Malta appealed the program 3 months later, closing the bloc's last passport for investment route. Cyprus shows the individual version. Since closing its own program, its Council of Ministers has moved to strip citizenship from several hundred investors and family members who naturalized under it. Imagine opening that letter, and the reasoning now spreads beyond investor programs. Italy's Constitutional Court cited the Malta judgment when it upheld the descent reform we covered at number 10, and Italy's own state lawyers argued that the old bloodline regime granted citizenship without any connection to the country. Treat the permanence of any acquired citizenship as conditional, and before you rely on one, read how the granting state can unwind it. Every rule on this list attaches to a document, and number 1 proved the document itself can be temporary. That's why the sharpest strategists in this space judge citizenship by the rights that survive a change in paperwork, where you can settle and build a life even if a passport shifts underneath you. We made a video on precisely that, covering how critical settlement blocks and residency rights are in 2026. Watch that one next, and subscribe for more.